We're currently starting off with our next batch of teams, and today we're recording a Scizor team for the channel. Now, it's been a while since I've actually used Scizor in competitive, and honestly, it has a lot of very nice niche against a lot of the top Pokemon, and it's a very anti-meta pick in my opinion. So today, we're going to be using a Scizor Rain Tailwind team that should be pretty terrifying in my opinion, and it might even be able to get us up to Master Ball finally. If you guys enjoy and want to see more content like this, of course, like and subscribe for more. And with that said, let's start off with the Mon of the Hour being none other than a Tera Dragon Metal Coat Scizor. So Tera Dragon is going to be great for helping this Scizor in general, taking on hits from things like Ogerpon, especially with the Hearthflame and Wellspring forms, both requiring very different counterplay, and this is a nice middle ground to it, as Scizor is a nice offensive check to pre-Tera Ogerpon. With Sword Stance, Bug Bite, and Bullet Punch, this becomes a very nice offensive nightmare for any not Steel type, and trust me when I say we have plenty of Steel type counterplay on this team. Literally every pick on this team should be capable of handling all of the viable steals. So I'm pretty prepared for any sort of Scizor counter that we might end up finding in this format, and overall this should prove to be a very nice option, as with Tailwind up we'll outpace everything that's not like Dragapult or faster in Tailwind, which is very useful because otherwise we'll just be spamming Bullet Punch, Bullet Punch, Bullet Punch, but for certain Pokemon that we might need to Bug Bite through, like for example the Ogerpons, this should be pretty nice at doing so. With our next damage enabler, we have none other than a Focus Sash, Tera Ghost, Chien-Pao, with Ice Spinner, Sacred Sword, Sucker Punch, and Protect. This is just a max Chien-Pao meant to damage enable for all of our physical threats, as we do have a couple on this team, mainly the Scizor and our next Pokemon, and overall this is also great at clearing through terrain that might potentially revenge through some of my other pieces on the team that we'll get into in a bit. It's great for the Psychic Terrain matchup, it's great for the Grassy Glide Rillabooms, it's really just great for a lot of different things, and overall it will be a very nice support Pokemon on this team in general. Moving on, we do have our next Pokemon being none other than Urshifu. As I mentioned, this was a Tailwind Rain team, so Scarf Urshifu is a pretty nice safe bet here. With a nice Surging Strike set with Tera Water, overall just meant to be a really good damage breaker with the Rain up. And with our speed, we should overall be able to outpace really anything viable in the format before Tailwind, and then with the Tailwind up, we'll outpace most Scarfers even. And with Surging Strikes, this will really be the primary click here, though we do have Aqua Jet as a nice safe priority option if need be against faster threats like Booster Fluttermane, if for some reason I do lack a Tailwind. Speaking of Tailwind though, we do have none other than our Tornadus with Mental Herb, Tera Ghost, with Tailwind, Rain Dance, Bleak Wind, and Taunt. Now we're just max speed to ensure that we can get up taunts as fast as possible to tie either Tornadus, if not outpace them. And with Bleak Wind, this is a great option to take advantage of our Rain, as it is 100% accurate with Rain up. So it's a great partner for the Urshifu-Rapid, as well as a couple later picks on the team. And overall, this should prove to be a very terrifying Tailwind setter for us, and really enable the team to really function. Up next, we do have a great Electric type on this team that should hopefully help with breaking through any sort of Tera Water Pokemon that would so far give us some issues, being none other than Raging Bolt. Now, just like with the last time that I brought Raging Bolt, I actually did fuck up and I meant to change Volt Switch out for Thunderbolt. That will be changed in the future on any teams that I make going forward, I promise. But this next batch, again, I repeated literally the same Raging Bolt set, where we should be able to hopefully help with any sort of common things at the lower speed tier, around like the 80s, 85s. I might be running a little bit of investment with our booster special attack as well, getting a nice special attack bump here too, making sure that we can just break through everything that we'll be fighting. Thunderclap is a great priority option for the Urshifu matchup, and Draco is great into most Pokemon in general right now, and the combination of these two is actually very, very hard to switch around. You'd basically need to be like a Tinkaton to actually really take this hit sufficiently. Actually, no, mind, I mixed it up. You need to be like a Dragon Fairy type, so like a Mega Altaria, which doesn't really exist anymore, or like a Fairy Ground type, which isn't in the format. Like it's a very unique type combination to really be switching around, and overall this should be hopefully a pretty good option for us on the team. Finally, we do have a Landorus Incarnate. Now, I thought I swore off this Pokemon, but objectively it filled a really unique hole in this team for the Archludon matchup without having to worry about Tera Fairy, and since I was running Rain, I was a little bit less reluctant to use Landorus. We're going to be max speed to hopefully creep any sort of base 100s here, and with the Life Orb Tera Poison, this turns into a great check to Pokemon such as Rillaboom and Fluttermane that might otherwise be able to deal some really strong damage to us, and it should have a very nice type coverage of Poison and Ground to just hit most things viable in the format. If you guys want to try out the team yourselves, the runouts going to be on screen here, as well as with the paste in the description below. And with that said, let's see how good Scizor is in Regulation F. Alright, we're here today with our first game with the Scizor Rain team. Now, this one should be pretty interesting, I feel like. Of the next batch of teams, this one is probably the best. It's really fucking good, actually. I like this team a lot, and I think I accidentally came across something that like genuinely could be viable. We're taking on a team consisting of Archludon Rain, which should be pretty terrifying. But thankfully, Scizor actually is a pretty good matchup. I feel like that realistically, the Bug Steel actually does really good against this team besides the Arch, which I've kind of played for this. My lead will definitely be, I feel like that Shifu just is such a brain dead lead here, because even if they lead off with like Ogerpon, I could probably just CC it and be kind of fine. We're gonna bring our Scizor in the back for sure, and then I think my last mon has to be Landorus. Landorus is going to be really fucking vital for the Archaludon, which it's thankfully one of, if not the best, counterplay measures around them on. But my god, I hate playing that thing so much. Archaludon genuinely is like the least fun Pokemon to play around, I think, in all of Scarlet and Violet VGC. And this includes old formats. Like, I'm talking in formats where, like, we were Fisher Dozoing other Fisher Dozos for win cons, or like Regulation B, where multiple top cut games came down to Dozo v Dozo timer mirrors at 4v4. Archaludon is somehow less fun than those, because it's so dumb. I think it's such a dumb mon. But we're gonna fight Incineroar for Rig on lead. That's perfectly fine. I'm not too concerned with this personally. Against a lead like this, I just go for dual offense. So we're gonna go for Surging Strikes. My goal will be to just target the Incineroar, mostly just because it's a decent way to respond to my my Scizor in the back, and I don't really want to let this thing just get by. If Farig is going for things like Psychic Noise, I'm kind of okay with it. If Farig is going for things like Trick Room, I'm also kind of okay with it. I just don't really want to let my opponent, you know, do a lot to my Scizor, because Scizor will kind of be a vital piece for the endgame here. This should be fine though. What I'll proceed to do here is I'm going to go for another Bleak Wind, as it should pressure any of the switch-ins they have besides like Archaludon. And then I'm going to switch out into Scizor. I'm expecting a Psychic Noise and then probably a Parting Shot, if I had to guess. I can't really see Incineroar staying in and wanting to take a Surging Strikes, especially if I do decide to Tera Water my Urshifu, which is a very good Tera typing against their team. They're going to go for Hyper Voice. Okay, so maybe they went for like a Will-O-Wisp instead. Wisp wouldn't be the best thing, but I have worse Pokemon to be burned at least. They're going to proceed to go for Knockoff, actually. Knockoff is interesting. Like, it's not a bad play by any means. I just thought they'd go for Parting Shot. But that's fair. That's totally fair. We're going to get some really good damage off, actually, on the Incineroar there. So I'm more than okay with this. And then Incineroar is going to pop a Citrus Berry this turn. All of this is very fine for me. I could in theory switch into the, yeah, I could totally switch in to another Pokemon here. I think my play, though, ultimately will just be to go for Bleak Wind and Protect. And then I'll go for Terra Dragon on the following turn when I can also get, like, an Urshifu position here. Because I think that will hopefully help a lot with my endgame. I could also potentially go into Landorus Incarnate, but I would rather get something else that could maybe, like, draw in a Will-O-Wisp 50-50, or just see what the Incineroar is going to do first before I really go for that target. So let's see, what are they going to go for? They're going to go for Flare Blitz, okay. So they probably don't have Wisp then, which is good to know, because I feel like that might have been a turn you clicked it. Though maybe they just sought kill, and I'm kind of fine with that. We're going to, regardless, though, go for Tera Dragon at this point, and I'm going to go for Bug Bite right into the Farig, and just get off a really hefty amount of damage at this point. Meanwhile, we're not going to Tera Water, we're just going to go for Surging Strikes into the, actually, no. I'm going to go for a Close Combat into the Incident, well, a Drain Punch, I should say. Yeah, they don't have a Resist outside of Prim, which is kind of fine, because their Trick Room ends in 2 turns. And while I won't have Tailwind advantage, I'm kind of okay with that. Am I gonna, I feel like U-Turn is also a really good play here. Actually, yeah, well, no, I'm going to go for Drain Punch. Yeah, I'm going to go for Drain Punch. And then I'm going to go for the Tera Dragon, I'm going to go for the Bug Bite here. If my opponent has something like, for example, a Aqua Berry, this is going to be a very nice turn for us. My guess is that this is probably Rocky Helmet. We haven't actually seen an item on Farig now that I think about it, because we've only clicked Bleak Wind twice. So really, the only thing we've ruled out is Citrus, but we also saw that on Incineroar anyway, so it wasn't going to be Citrus. They're going to go for Psychic Noise into my Urshifu. That's perfectly fine. It does manage to get KO'd, but my Tera Dragon Scizor should be pretty good. And honestly, with the endgame state that we'll have, I think that Landorus plus Scizor can definitely clean. They're going to go for Flare Blitz. They'll take some recoil, only hurting themselves even further in the long run. But I'm going to get off a really strong Bug Bite here that's going to harm their Farigiraf for the entire rest of the game, because now they can't get Trick Room back up. Which means if they were trying to bank on a Pokemon like, for example, the Primarina, it's going to be kind of useless. So my opponent will most likely try and go for some sort of just dual offense move here. This is a very viable dual Protect turn for me, in my opinion. And then I can proceed to go for like a Sword. Well, no, I can't really go for Sword Stance because I'm a Dragon type now. I'll need to go for like a Sludge Bomb plus a Bullet Punch just right into the Primarina this turn. Well, on the following turn, I should say. But yeah, they're going to definitely go for like a Dazzling Gleam and then like a knockoff for a Flare Blitz into my Landorus. They might go for like a Hyper Voice, just a Octave. No, they can't be Throat Spray. Right, we saw Farig's item. It was Throat Spray. I forgot about that. All right, well, this is still fine. This is still very fine. In hindsight, maybe I should have went for like a Sword Stance into a Bug Bite. That probably would have been the better play. But to be fair, they could have Hyper Voiced around me, and that could have been a whole mess. I don't really want to risk it. So I'll just go for this instead. We should still be kind of okay here. They're gonna Tera on the Primarina here into Tera Steel. Okay, so I'm really glad I didn't attack now, because if I did attack and I went for like a Sludge Bomb, that would have been very bad. But my opponent has now given me an opportunity to actually just go for Sandsear Storm, which means I need to hit the move. Now, for anyone who somehow is watching us through their first video, you know, it's very likely that you are. This probably wasn't published to subscriptions, but that's a whole different discussion to be had. But most likely, you probably are seeing this as a new viewer. And I fucking hate this Pokemon. I've mentioned this actually in so many of my most recent videos. I hate Landorus Incarnate passionately because of the Sandsear Storm move, which is absolutely obnoxious. They're going to make a really good defensive play, actually, going for Calm Mind. That's very terrifying. And it might be the reason I lose this game, in all honesty, because I was a bit too passive. We're going to go for Sandsear here, though. And then I think that just to be safe, I'm going to go for a Bug Bite into that Incineroar spot, as I think there's a world where they might just hard swap out here to try and get an Intimidate off later on in the game, just to weaken my Scizor. If they go for, like, an Intimidate plus, let's say, I don't know, like an Intimidate plus a Protect on Prim, and yeah, okay, so they go for Protect, all right. So Protect on Prim is fine. We'll get some good damage off an Incineroar at least before it can maybe Parting Shot out, which is good. I just need to hit the Incineroar here. Can we hit the Incineroar here? Okay, thank God. This is like the first time in a while where I've hit the intended target of the move, which was the Incineroar. To be fair, it would have been both Mons if both Mons were on the field. But in this case, I needed to hit the Incineroar. So this is very good. I can honestly just go for a Bug Bite into the Ogerpon when that inevitably comes in next turn. And if it doesn't come in, I'm really fucking set. Because, yeah, they go into Ogerpon. Alright, so my play is always just to go for a Bug Bite plus a... Yeah, to go for a Bug Bite plus a Protect here. And then ideally, I can go for just an Earth Power Raw into the Primarina on the following turn. I can't really risk an Ivy Cudgel, though, because Landorus is my win con. And they only really win the game if they go for that. So I think that that's probably going to be their play. They're going to go for Ivy Cudgel here into the Landorus. Yep, okay, perfect, thank God. Because if I called that wrong and I went for Spiky, they won the match. But I think I do have an out now because of this. Now, I will lose my Scizor, but Scizor did so much breaking for us, I'm kind of okay with it. We've already gotten off a lot of merit. I'm kind of shocked we even used Tera Dragon in this match for that matter, or really in the video for that matter, because I did not anticipate that we'd be clicking Tera Dragon. But I'll more than take it. Now, Scizor will definitely die, but it did not go down in vain. Scizor really did a good job here. And now I just need to kind of play a Lando 50-50 on if we can kill Prim or not. So unfortunately, this is where we pull out my trusty friend Damage Calc to give me paranoia about what my best play is. So, Damage Calc, let's see what Landorus's best play is into a Primarina. Because if, let's say, for example, my best play is to go for a Sandsear. Yeah, okay, so right here. Sandsear can maybe roll this thing, depending on how bulky it is. Never mind. Actually, never mind. So, yeah, Sandsear could maybe roll this thing at like a 6.3% roll at +1. Earth Power can never kill without a crit. I'm going to go for Sandsear Storm here. It's a really low chance that I kill for what it's worth. Okay, so we got like a literal max roll or a crit there. Assuming this is max HP Primarina, which considering it's Trick Room, I think it's very likely. But again, there had to be like a good amount of luck with this move to have gotten that kill. So I won't act like this is a clean win. I was literal 6.3% chance, but I will more than take it. We'll see you guys in match number 2 though. Alright, going into game number 2, this looks like we're taking on a Regulation D team, which isn't necessarily meant to be like a slight or anything. I mean, we just saw Reg C teams doing really well at Knoxville Regionals, and this is, I've recognized this team actually from Reg D. I'm pretty sure it was like a South American team if I remember, because really the Zapdos is what's strumming up that memory, because it's a popular mon from South American teams that I've seen, and it's the only region that really does Zapdos well, to my knowledge. But I mean, regardless, it's a really decent looking team, so we'll need to be very careful about this. The Urshifu could be terrifying, especially since that does look to be Rapid Strike. So while obviously I have good checks in line for it, my opponent has a lot of means of muscling my checks, like for example, the Raging Bolt. They have good ways of pressuring it through what it's most likely an Earth Power Heatran, because it was common during the format, and then Flutter Mane, so we'll just need to be a bit careful about how we play the match. I think that realistically, my lead into this is always going to be probably Torn Raging Bolt. I think Raging Bolt, actually no, not Torn Raging Bolt, probably Torn Scizor actually. I like Torn Scizor a lot. They're not going to lead off with Heatran. I feel like it's very likely a Flutter Mane or Urshifu lead, or like a Flutter Mane Heatran, Flutter Mane Rillaboom, or Flutter Mane Urshifu. And I think that all of those are like, well, most of those are pretty good. Then we'll go with Raging Bolt for sure. I do need that in the back for Urshifu. And then I think that my final mon here, I think it's probably the Landorus. It's probably the Landorus, yeah. I feel like Landorus is probably going to be my Tera mon in this game. If I can help it, Landorus will be my Tera option with Tera Poison. There might be a situation where I need to Tera the Scizor, and I'm kind of okay with it. I would prefer not to, but there might be a world where I need to. It's not exactly like the most valuable mon in this endgame, to be fair. Scizor is really mostly useful for the Rillaboom. And it's kind of not bad for Urshifu and Revenging Fluttermane. Like right here, for example, this is probably where we're going to get the most use out of Scizor in the entire match. And it depends on the Fluttermane's item mostly, because if that's Booster, they're probably going to click Protect here. And then, okay, so they're not going to be Booster. That's perfect then. I can proceed to just go for Tailwind here, and then I can go for a Bullet Punch just right into the Fluttermane. That's going to already be some great early on damage. They will probably have to switch out into Heatran, but I don't have a reason to try and predict around that. My boost is completely walled. And realistically, my prediction, if anything, would come on the following turn where I switch into Raging Bolt. But there's no reason to make that play right now. Because while, yeah, I could catch the Fluttermane on a switch, you know, I can keep a little bit healthier of a Scizor. At the same time, though, if I did make the switch into Raging Bolt and they went for Gleam, I'd look like an idiot. So they're going to go for Tera on Urshifu. That is probably Tera Water. I can't really imagine another Tera type you'd be clicking at this point. Maybe, I guess, like, yeah, okay, I was gonna say, maybe like a Steel, I guess, if you wanted to get a Bleak Wind resist. But this is very fine. I mean, we already popped Tera on Urshifu, which is great. That means it's not on Fluttermane or Heatran, which should help a lot with our backline. And on top of that as well, it's also not going to be, like, Heatran not coming, I guess, and having to play around the threat of it. We just know that Heatran can. And, again, Tera Poison on Landorus should hopefully account for most things that Scizor can't. Now, they're going to go for Tornadus, which is actually really good for us because they Tera'd the Urshifu. They also are going to leave the Scizor around, which could still deal some serious damage to my opponent. And on top of this as well, the fact that they're Tera Water on the Urshifu does lead me to believe, like, there's a few assumptions we can make about that. So we'll definitely take this. They're going to be leftover Heatran, all very good things. I'm just going to go for a Thunderclap on my Raging Bolt, and then I'm going to proceed to also just switch hard into my Landorus. Now, again, I must have fucked up. I must have, so there's been a spread that I've been copying for Raging Bolt for a lot of the time because it's one of the few spreads that I can kind of understand calcs for, and like even I know what it's supposed to be doing. But they must all have Volt Switch over Thunderbolt because I keep meaning to change that out for Thunderbolt. But it's fine. Realistically, Thunderclap is always my click here anyway. We're going to switch hard into Landorus this turn because I don't really want to take a Heat Wave or like a Burning Jealousy or some other fire attack from Heatran. Not really what I'm looking to do here. So we're going to bring in our Landorus. I should be able to kill the Urshifu very confidently. I mean, we are Photosynthesis. They're going to go for Detect. It really does not help them that much because I can just keep Thunderclapping until they switch. And if they're going to switch into anything, it's going to have to take a Sandsear. So I'm pretty okay with this. I could actually just probably Earth Power Heatran in all honesty, because Thunderclap will massacre the Urshifu. And even if they swap, I don't really need the chip on anything else because I can Tera around the Fluttermane, for example. So yeah, I'm actually just going to go for Thunderclap here. And then I'm going to go for the Earth Power here. And that should be plenty. That should honestly be plenty. Just killing that Urshifu will objectively be really huge for later on. And again, I can Tera Poison and massacre the Fluttermane on a later turn if they didn't make this swap, for example. But now this is great because I'm going to get two very free KOs into my opponent because of the fact that I could just outposition them. Which isn't, to my opponent's, well, not necessarily taking away from or giving any credit for it or whatever, really. But it's just a matter of fact that I guess Scizor can now apply that pressure late game so I could play this a little bit more recklessly. Because even if I do lose my Landorus now, I've killed the best check they have unless they brought Zapdos as well, which I don't know why you'd bring Zapdos to this. They actually brought Zapdos. Okay, shit. I didn't realize that they would have brought Zapdos to this game, but it's not unbringable here. I'm questioning a little bit as to why. This isn't really a huge deal though. It's not worth arguing over semantics. We're going to go for Protect, and then I'm going to go for Sludge Bomb, Tera Poison, because that should massacre the Fluttermane. And even if they do kill my Landorus in this turn, I should still be able to, at minimum, get off a strong attack, unless they're predicting specifically Tera Poison, which isn't the most out there prediction. They could definitely make it, but I feel like Gleam is just a much more usable option here, because it also pressures the Raging Bolt, which is a very obnoxious Pokemon for their team. The only reason I'm clicking Protect here is because I have no reason to try and play around like a Sash Fluttermane right now. They're going to go for Detect. That's perfectly fine. I don't really care about the Zapdos at this current moment. Sludge Bomb will deal a ton of damage to Landorus. They might survive, in all honesty. They definitely could. They do. Okay. So if they go for Shadow Ball... Okay, they do not go for Shadow Ball. That's fine. This is still definitely Thunderclap range, though. And I can Sludge Bomb the Zapdos on a following turn, which is great. As we can see, though, we take the Gleam very confidently because of the fact that we went for the... Tera Poison, turn this into a Resist. That might not have necessarily been a survive if it wasn't for the Tera Poison. It really just depends on rolls, in all honesty. Battle was canceled. Okay, perfect. Because of how quick these two games were, we're going to try for one more match. And we'll see you guys in the final game. All right, moving into our final game of the day, we're taking on a team consisting of Urshifu, Farigiraf, Fluttermane, Rillaboom, Ogerpon, and Heatran. So we moved up from Regulation D to Regulation E, though, I mean, technically this is still barring the Heatran, which is not uncommon right now, but I will say, for the fact that we are using Scizor, and this is the first time in ages I've seen 2 Heatrans in the same video, seems a little bit of a counter team from the ladder, but it's fine, we'll take it. I'm not accusing the ladder of cheating, I'm just accusing the ladder of rigging matchups against me is all. That's all it is. We're going to go with the Tornadus and Landorus lead though. I think, actually, no, not Tornado. I feel like Urshifu is just my lead here. I could also, actually, yeah, I could just leave a Torn Scizor, now that I think about it. I have a very nice switch into Raging Bolt yet again. And then, I don't know if I'm going to bring Landorus this time around. I think it's not bad here. I kind of like Pow a bit more though. Partially just because I haven't shown off the Pow, I'm going to be honest. But I think it is a nice enabler for the Scizor, and I kind of want to show off the line. Also, I mean, realistically, their only real check to that is their own Urshifu, which I have enough to outmaneuver. Plus, my Chien-Pao can even honestly outmaneuver their Urshifu, so I'm not too concerned with it. It's just going to kind of be a little bit of an awkward turn for like a second, and then we're set. So, good luck, have fun to my opponent. I'm very curious about what lead they have. I feel like most of their team can lead in really whatever combination they want. So this will be a big, very much what-if scenario here. They're going to proceed to lead off with Heatran and Fluttermane. Okay, so Heatran is terrifying, actually. That is a mon that could actually put some serious pressure on me on immediate lead. So what I need to do now is I need to probably go for a Rain Dance, because the Rain Dance is, it's more so to boost my Urshifu as quickly as possible, because I'm going to kind of hope that I can lose the Tornadus, in all honesty. And then meanwhile, I'm going to go for a Protect here. This is mostly to get around, and one, it's to scout what my opponent will do. Especially seeing that they do have Booster, I don't really want to waste Scizor if I don't have to. They're going to proceed to switch, so perfect, okay. So I protected the Scizor, and I can now swap it out, keep it in the back. They went for Rig anyway, and Rig actually might be an option where I stay in all honesty. Because I can proceed to go for Tera Dragon and go for like a Bug Bite immediately into that. This Rain Dance will also be nice, because even if they get Trick Room up, I don't really need to fear that my speed will be super screwed. So I'm very okay with this. We're going to take advantage of this though. I feel like Farig has a lot of options it can do. I'm actually going to go right into Chien-Pao, which might sound a bit stupid because I'm switching it in on a fire type. But I think that the damage we can boost from this will help the Tera Dragon Scizor just really massacre through my opponent. Now, we will be a little bit more susceptible to Fluttermane because of this, but I'm not too concerned because we'll have a Tornadus that can reset my Tailwind for us, on top of the fact that Bullet Punch will still deal a ton of damage to Fluttermane anyway, and I'll also have Pow that can still at least Sucker Punch it, and in tandem with the Scizor, I feel very confident that Mon will drop. So, we'll just need to be a bit careful is all, but I do think it is very manageable in terms of the situation we're in. And especially by bringing in Pow, we could just really ensure that that Farigiraf will be completely fucked over. And if they pop some sort of premature Tera on Heatran for some reason, seeing my matchup, like a Tera Fairy for example, I'm very much okay with that. Mostly, I guess, seeing the Chien-Pao here, they're actually going to swap out of Heatran, which is kind of a crazy switch to make, but I fuck with it, because that Fluttermane is now very safe against my team. Thankfully though, my Chien-Pao will most likely keep a Focus Sash intact. Actually, maybe not. I feel like they probably just went for like a Protect or a Hyper Voice this turn because of that. So, I mean, if it went for Hyper Voice, so be it. They're still going to take a sort of Ruin Boost Bug Bite, which is very good for me. And then I can protect Scizor while going for Ice Spinner into the... oh, never mind. I don't even need to protect Scizor because Farig just dropped. I don't know if the crit mattered, I'm going to be honest. Oh, it's Rocky Helmet. That probably is a very Fizz Def Farig, then that might have mattered. Especially because we're only Metal Coat on our Scizor, so that might have actually made a difference. I'm kind of curious, like, not that it really changed a lot of the game plan, but I'm just kind of curious, like, how much that mattered. I mean, if they were going for an offensive move there, that actually probably mattered a lot, but otherwise, I mean, Bug Bite's a very powerful move off of Scizor. Like, just for my sanity, right? That was a roll if they were Fizz Def. Even if they were max, that was a roll. It's slightly out of my favor, but we'll take it. We'll take it for sure. They have Urshifu single as their last mon. This is actually very fine for me. My play is always to dual target the Fluttermane as much as possible. If they go for Protect, so be it. But I think in my play, again, it's just always to massacre the Fluttermane. We'll go for the Sucker and Bullet Punch combination. That should always pick off even if it's Tera Fairy, which they are going to go for Tera and Fluttermane. Very obvious Tera Fairy. Perfect, okay. So Fluttermane should be checked very confidently. Sucker Punch will deal some okay damage. It's probably going to be like 30-40. Bullet Punch is more so here, just... well, Bullet Punch plus Sucker Punch in tandem is more so here to get around things like Aqua Jet or Urshifu maybe going for my Chien-Pao with the clean Fluttermane winning a speed tie, or for Focus Sash Fluttermane in particular, I don't really want to fuck with. So I'm fine with this. We've now killed the second biggest threat to my team, especially because I didn't Tera my Raging Bolt. So this is really good for us. They'll proceed to close combat. That's fine. I have my Focus Sash still. And I can probably just Sucker Punch this into Infinity plus a Bullet Punch here or a Bug Bite and just win the game. Because now they're at -1, which is very nice for us, but more so because it stops them from clicking Sucker Punch to pick me off, meaning that I can keep my Sword of Ruin boost alive. If they're going to Sucker Punch my Scizor, I'm not really too against that. This also would just be a great item reveal for us, which is huge. So we're going to Sucker Punch, and I'm going to leave the Heatran alone because it is a nice Sword Stance target for me later on with Scizor, and I can kind of just pick it off with really any combination of my backline because I can just out stall through Protects with Torn Taunt. I can also just go for Raging Bolt, Thunderclaps. Like, there's a lot of options I have with that. They're going to Protect on Heatran, which is probably the most beneficial play for us they could have made. Because, again, I get this nice sequence here where I Sucker Punch, they can't Sucker Punch me back. And they don't seem to. They're probably just seeking their KO, which is totally fair. But because of that, Urshifu drops, which is amazing. Really just goes to show that with just one defense drop, I mean, physical offense really just starts going ham in this format. We're going to go for Sacred Sword here, and then I'm going to go for a Sword Stance, because Scizor at this point just needs to set up, and so when Chien-Pao died, it was fine to always win the game, because Heatran cannot sufficiently break it. But we'll take it. That's actually the first time in a while we've gotten a very nice 3-0 for a video, so I'm very okay with that. We've gotten a lot of 2-0s, or like 1-1s, or like even the 1-2 with Claw yesterday. But a nice 3-0. The team was really dominant in all 3 games. Like, I actually do think this is probably the best team we have used in a long while on the channel. If you want to try it yourselves, make sure to check it out in the builder. And if you guys enjoy and want to see more content like this, like and subscribe for more. Consider becoming a channel member as well for just a couple dollars a month. You get some nice bonus content. Currently, we do have a poll up as of the time you're watching this. I'm giving it up another 3 hours before I record that video out. So make sure you guys vote if you have not already. Our current channel members are Zeke, Mia, Rausakura, Obo, Endless Gadgets, Josh Check Ultra Player, and Incog M. Your guys' support is greatly appreciated. And I will see you guys in tomorrow's video. Until then, peace out, guys.